Coming up on the show, classes back in session for some schools in the district, in the metro area. We're going to check in with Decatur, Cherokee, and DeKalb County schools to see how they're preparing for the academic year. Also, Atlanta sports great legend Deion Sanders shares about his journey beating bladder cancer. We're going to examine what that looks like, how you can beat it, and what would make you want to climb several miles into thin air. Well, we're going to talk to one Metro Atlanta native who's made a living out of doing that and is about to accomplish a death-defying feat. This is The Take. Let's get it. Hello and welcome. I'm Chesley McNeil, and this is The Take, where we go above and beyond the headlines and we look at the why and how stories are impacting you and your community. We invite the experts in to give their take on today's top stories, and we try to have just a little bit of fun as well. Back to school time, yes indeed. This is the first day of classes for city schools of Decatur, and we were seeing how the kids were bringing their backpacks and their lunch boxes and getting ready for a little bit of school at 5th Avenue Elementary School. While the students will be working on their reading and writing and arithmetic, the district faces several important transitions right about now for the first day of school. Here to share more with us, the district superintendent, Dr. Jima Whitaker, and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, you know, we saw you out there this morning talking with some of the students. How did they look going back to school for their first day?
Oh, our students looked ready. I was so excited to be at 5th Avenue this morning. I've also been at Glenwood and Westchester and started my day with our transportation team at the bus barn at 6 a.m. So we are ready to receive our students.
Yeah, you got an early start this morning. How would you describe the state of the district at this point?
State of the district as well. City Schools of Decatur is ready to open our arms to our students. All of our instructional positions have been filled. Our teachers have been encouraged. They've been supported. They've engaged in professional learning. As far as our principals and administration, they have worked diligently to ensure the conditions are right for all of our students to thrive.
Yeah. A new project for you this school year is offering paid tuition for non-resident students. What's in place to ensure that the resources and class sizes for residents won't be affected by the increase in class size?
Yes, allowing our non-resident students to enroll has been very thoughtfully executed. CSD used not only our current enrollment, but also our projections by class and by grade to determine what number of seats we would have available for tuition. So our non-resident students were accounted for in the planning and also in the budgeting process for this school year, because an increase in enrollment would not require the addition of a teacher or for resources that were not already allocated.
Mm-hmm. You know, one of the things that your district is noted for is those automated cameras near school zones, and you staved off the challenge from legislators to have those banned statewide. Do you expect to see any more challenges with that this year?
Sad to say, but yes, we do. As we know, the Georgia General Assembly operates on a biennial legislative cycle. So what that means is legislation that is not enacted can be alive for 2 years. And so the school speed zone camera legislation, there were actually 2 out of the House remaining to be alive. That would be House Bill 225 and also House Bill 651. So the city schools of Decatur, as well as the city of Decatur, both expect that legislation to come up again this session.
What's your plan to kind of stay that off again? How do you got anything in the works?
Well, one of the key aspects to staying it off this past year was to have the legislators come to the city schools of Decatur during our dismissal time period. You will see that over 60% of our students are walkers. So as you're traversing West College and McDonough, you will see a lot of students walking. Middle school, high school, and even what you saw today at 5th Avenue. So the key is to ensure that our legislators know the conditions that we use to create safety for all of our students. And those speed zone cameras are key.
Yeah. Last week we saw the federal government sign off on releasing funds, some dollars for school districts. Not sure how much you received from that, but how are you planning to use that money this semester?
The fiscal impact for us was not as great as some of the neighboring districts. To be honest, we had a little bit over $100,000 that were held up, if you will, or frozen. But we utilized those funds to help pay for teachers. So we braid the funds from our Title II-A as well as our Title IV-A with our Title I allocation to help fund teachers.
Yeah. Is it a tight budget this year? Do you have any wiggle room in it?
I would say every year is a tight year. We do expect to continue to tighten our belt in the budgeting process as we get ready for FY27, and we obviously make sure that for our taxpayers that they do get the quality education based upon what we provide for them.
Yeah, if you could leave the parents and the students with one takeaway as the school year begins, what would it be?
I would say to my CSD families, to my staff, to all of our students, we are poised to meet all of our students, their needs academically, as well as their future readiness. All means all in the CSD. And also know that all means all. It's more than just a mantra.
All right. Dr. Whitaker, success to you for the school year. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Take care. Have a great day. All right, folks, it's going to be hot on the outside. Hopefully that school outfit is cool enough to wear today. Maybe the shorts and short sleeves, of course, maybe today and tomorrow. And then as we start the work week next week, or school day or school week next week, we'll be looking at some cooler air coming our way. 92 degrees for the high today, 93 on Friday, with a chance for some scattered showers, thunderstorms, mainly during the afternoon. And then as we head into the weekend, notice that temperature goes down a little bit. 83 for the high temperature on Saturday. Sunday, we're looking at 80 for a high temperature. You notice the increase in clouds there if you look at the graphic. And we'll have about a 30 to 40% chance for showers in the afternoon, both Saturday and Sunday. We're going to roll that over into next week. So Monday, we're looking at 82, 84 degrees by Tuesday, and Wednesday back up to 86. Keep in mind, our high temperature this time of year should be around 90. We'll finally get below average. Finally, as August rolls in. Will it stay that way? We do know August typically brings in some hot weather, all right? We typically talk about the dog days, right? So let's enjoy this one while we can, folks. Hey, don't go anywhere. We got plenty more show for you coming up right after the break. This is The Take on the ATL and 11Alive Plus. We'll be back right after this. All right, welcome back to the show. You know, it truly is the final countdown as the August 1st trade deadline is just hours away. Joining us now is NBC Washington correspondent Alice Barr. And Alice, we are expecting to see a flurry of deals being reached today. And do we know which nations are going to get socked with tariffs when we hit midnight tonight?
Yeah, so it's not clear whether there will be, deals announced sliding in under the wire today. There are a whole bunch of countries that are still outstanding, and most notably among them are our neighbors to the north and the south. Canada and Mexico both do not have new trade deals confirmed. There is a broad swath of countries that are trading partners with the U.S. that are going to see these tariffs kick up. It's a range between 15% on the lower end for some of them, 20, 30%, and then up to Brazil is looking at a 50% tariff kicking in tomorrow. That's the worst of the bunch. But yeah, President Trump announced, for instance, India is going to face a 25% tariff. And that also, in addition, is going to include a penalty import tax because India has been buying Russian oil amid the war on Ukraine. There's also a deal that was announced with South Korea just under the wire for billions of dollars in new U.S. investment and 15% tariffs on goods entering the U.S. That's lower than the president had threatened, but sharply higher than in recent years. And the president said that there are literally trillions of dollars ultimately being brought into the country generated through these tariffs. But he said that there are negotiations ongoing with various countries, chief among them, as I noted, Canada and Mexico still being worked out. But China is actively in trade negotiations. They were ongoing this week and just wrapped up with a pause so that those don't soar back up to the really high rates that were kind of there was that campaign back and forth of really a trade war that was brewing before the pause button was hit. Yeah. So while those negotiations are underway, he said the rest, we're just sending out the bill. And that's those unilateral letters that he's been sending to world leaders, letting them know this is your tariff rate. And he said, and the Treasury Secretary has said, just because the rates kick in tomorrow doesn't mean that there can't be continued negotiations after that to then roll some of those much higher rates back to something lower. That's part of the pressure campaign that the Trump administration has been working on to try to get the best possible deals here. Yeah,
and in all this, in the middle of all this, Alice, the White House celebrated some strong economic news?
Yeah, so this was the GDP, gross domestic product growth number, basically how much the economy grew during the second quarter, during the spring, that grew by 3%, and that was better than expected. In fact, the economy had contracted at the start of the year, so that's a very positive turnaround. Inflation ticked up slightly in June, but has been trending downward overall this year alongside low unemployment, strong market growth, and now that GDP number. President Trump is certainly, indicating that those are all signs of a strong economy, and we're going to get a jobs report tomorrow that could offer another key indicator as well.
Gotcha. And there was a big announcement from the Fed keeping interest rates steady, but there was some unusual things about this. Break it down for us real quick.
Yeah, so what's notable here is that two of the Fed's governors who were appointed by President Trump dissented to the decision not to lower rates. They argued for a rate cut, echoing President Trump there. And it's the first time two governors dissented in more than 30 years. Essentially, Fed Chairman Jerome Powell, he said that higher tariffs have begun to show through in the prices of some goods, but that their overall impact on the economy remains to be seen, and that he's not comfortable cutting rates at this point until there's a better picture of whether those higher prices potentially from tariffs are going to force inflation up. President Trump slammed Chairman Powell on social media this morning, calling him a litany of names, questioning whether he should be in that job, and saying the American people are paying the price of his not cutting rates.
Gotcha. Alice, thanks so much for that insight. We'll be back with you again tomorrow. All right, folks, don't go anywhere. We're going to talk to a man from Metro Atlanta seeking to conquer what only a few people have. You don't want to miss this. Stay tuned. Well, they're known as the 7 summits. We're talking about the highest mountains on each of the 7 continents, from Everest to the Himalayas to Kilimanjaro in Tanzania to McKinley in Alaska. Successfully climbing all 7 is considered one of the ultimate goals of mountaineering, right? Those that do that. Fewer than 500 people are verified to have completed all 7 summits worldwide. And now, former Beaufort High School football standout is one summit away from joining that elite company. He joins us now on the show. Zach Smith, all the way from South Africa. Good morning to you, my friend. Well, afternoon to you.
Good morning. Nice to be with you today.
Yes, indeed. Now, what made you want to climb mountains in the first place?
Well, I think if you were to look for a genesis of my mountaineering journey, it goes back to being a voracious reader as a kid. I loved reading adventure books. I loved whether it was Shackleton and Franklin exploring the seas, or Hillary and some of these mountaineers climbing these first mountains. So it really goes back to a love of reading, and that fostered a sense of adventure and a love of adventure, and it's been a lifelong passion of mine.
Wow. Tell us what it's like. What's the thrill like of climbing a mountain that's 15 to 20,000 feet into the sky?
A lot of time the thrill comes afterwards. When you're actually climbing, it's hard work. It's each step might be 5 or 6 breaths. The way that I like to describe it is, if you think the summit of Everest is about a mile from high camp to the summit, and that takes most people around 12 hours. So if you can imagine you're walking 4 laps around the track, and it takes you 3 hours to walk 1 lap, that's how slow you're moving. And so your respiration rate and your body is just being pushed to the limit. So a lot of time you're just focused on putting one foot in front of the other.
Yeah, you must like cold weather, because these mountains are tall enough to only have snow at the top of them. I mean, this is like amazing to us. You only have one more to go. Which one is that?
That's Mount Vincent and Antarctica. So I'll head there in November to check that one off and finish my Seven Summits conquest.
We believe in you. We think you're going to do it. How are you preparing for those conditions? What is it going to be like? What are your expectations of it?
The mountaineering, opposed to football, my background was playing football, and mountaineering is much more an endurance-based sport, whereas football is a power-based sport. So I find that, just you need a really high level of aerobic fitness. You also need the mountaineering skills. So you travel across a glacier, you need to be roped up, you're in a harness. Sometimes you're ascending what's called a fixed line. So you've got special tools that help you climb the rope or, stay safe on these crevassed glaciers. And so it's really a combination of some skills training, but really the most important piece is just being physically and mentally ready. That's a combination of strength training, a lot of carrying a heavy pack, sometimes pulling tires to mimic pulling a sled, and kind of put all those skills together. And that's what you need to be prepared.
Well, Mount Vincent may wind up being your favorite, but of the 6 you've done so far, which of those is your favorite?
That's tough. They're all special in unique ways, but I most recently did Mount Everest back in May, and so that one's fresh in my mind, and I had dreamed about climbing that since I was 6 years old, so that was a pretty special moment to stand on top on May 18th at 3 a.m. in the middle of the night, and finally see that goal come to fruition.
You complete this, what's next?
I've been asked that a few times, and I've got so many things that I want to do. I've got 2 young girls, and I hope to have adventures with them. But I think for now, I'm just focused on the next goal. I don't want to get ahead of myself, and I'll let you know what's after that.
You know what? When you complete it, I want you to come back to the show, man, and talk to us about it, bring us pictures and all that kind of stuff, man. We're rooting for you, okay?
Thank you so much. Yeah, we'll do it.
Thank you, Zach. Take care, man. All right. Wow, he's going to complete that. All right, former Atlanta Falcon, the former Atlanta Hall of Fame Falcon, Deion Sanders, brought attention to a medical condition that hasn't gotten a lot of attention. We're going to talk to a medical expert about it coming up.
It's a totally different life. I mean, thank God. I depend on depend. If you know what I mean. I truly depend on depend. Like I cannot control my bladder.
Former Atlanta Falcon and Brave great Deion Sanders revealing that he's been cured of bladder cancer. He says the cancer that he suffers from could have been much more dire had it not been caught when they found it. Joining us now is out of Denver, is medical contributor Dr. Pau Coley. Welcome back to the show.
Nice to see you, Chesley.
All right. Is this a rare cancer, doctor? In other words, is there a reason why it hasn't gotten much attention up until now?
It's interesting. It's actually much more common than you think. Men are about 3 times as common as women to get it, and we think it's because of hormonal effects on the bladder. We also think it's the way that men clear toxins from their body. So as you can imagine, the urine eliminates toxins from our body, so men tend to accumulate more toxins in the bladder than women, and estrogen can have a protective effect on the bladder. So the lifetime risk for a man getting it is about 1 in 28, and the lifetime risk for a woman is about 1 in 91, and we have about 100,000 new cases every year. And I think the reason it doesn't get attention is because people are ashamed to talk about it. People are worried to go to the doctor. And it's one of those cancers that can sneak up on you. You can get blood in the urine, even microscopic blood, about 30% of the time and not even realize it.
So is that the symptom? Because I remember Deion saying that he went in for something else and they found this. So what signs should we be looking for?
So sometimes there's no symptoms at all. That can be about 10 to 20% of cases, which is why it's important to just see your doctor regularly and get a lot of those screening tests. But sometimes you'll see blood in the urine. And like I said, sometimes it can be microscopic. For some people, it'll feel like a bladder infection, but you don't actually have an infection. So you can have burning when you urinate, you can have pain when you urinate, you can have frequent urination or lots and lots of trips to the bathroom. Anytime you see gross blood, meaning you look in the toilet bowl and you see blood in your urine, that is never normal. So that requires an immediate trip to the urologist or to the doctor. But even if you're having some funny symptoms with the way that you're passing urine, as you get older, prostate issues can be common too. It's really important to get it checked out.
Yeah. Deion Sanders, a public figure, obviously. Is there anything about his medical journey that stands out to you?
You know, he's had his share with his vascular issues with his toes, and now, of course, with this bladder cancer. What I am happy about is that even though his cancer hadn't invaded the wall of the muscle, so he had a high risk type of bladder cancer, but it hadn't actually invaded the wall of the bladder. It was just within the lining of the bladder. So it made it sort of a lower stage of cancer. He went ahead and picked the option of taking the bladder out completely, which is curative. Now, he could have stuck with the option, what's called a bladder sparing surgery, where he, bladder sparing treatment where he keeps the bladder, gets chemotherapy in the bladder, gets a surgery done where he shaves off the inside of the bladder, but certainly that's higher risk for recurrence. So I think his choice was a good one. I do think he's going to have some lifestyle changes after that. It's very challenging to live with the neobladder. They put a piece of intestine and reconstructed it into a new bladder for him. And you can imagine that works completely differently than your own bladder. But I do think is raising awareness of this, especially in Black men who often are afraid, don't trust the system, are afraid to go to the doctor. It's really an important takeaway lesson.
Yeah, I was going to ask you if there is one takeaway for families watching the story, what should they remember about bladder cancer?
They should remember that we don't normally screen for bladder cancer. So colon cancer, prostate cancer, breast cancer, cervical cancer, these are cancers we normally screen for. Bladder cancer, much more common than we think, especially now as we get exposed to more toxins in our environment. And yet we don't screen for it, which means that you need to have your radar up. And that requires at least one visit a year to the doctor just for screening purposes so that they can look at your urine, make sure there's no blood, there's no protein, there's nothing else that suggests something wrong. But also you having your radar up, knowing your body, knowing symptoms, and trying not to minimize, because only 1 out of 3 men go to the doctor regularly. And that's really not an acceptable statistic. We need to make sure that we normalize healthcare in men and actually make it that preventive care, especially in men, is considered a sign of strength, not a sign of weakness.
Absolutely. Dr. Coley, really appreciate your insight on this. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chesley.
All right, take care. Have a great day. All right, when we return, we're going to talk to an expert about that powerful earthquake that struck near Russia. We'll talk about that coming up. Stay right there. All right, welcome back. Tsunami warnings have been lifted across Hawaii, Japan, and most of the U.S. coastal regions after a powerful 8.8 earthquake struck off Russia's Pacific coast. Waves reached up to 16 feet hitting Russia, while smaller surges of 3 to 5 feet hit parts of Hawaii and California. Millions have returned home across evacuating areas, while authorities continue to monitor the risk from aftershocks. The epicenter of this quake was more than 5,000 miles away from metro Atlanta, yet the folks at Georgia Tech have been keenly monitoring how this tremor behaved. Here to help us analyze it is Dr. Andrew Newman. Welcome to the show, Dr. Newman, out of Georgia Tech.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right, walk us through what happened here in the Pacific that caused this quake and this tsunami to hit.
Sure. So this is good old plate tectonics. The Pacific plate slowly moves along at about 2.5 inches a year. And at least in that portion of Russia and Kamchatka is colliding into and then what we call subducting beneath Kamchatka. And when it does that, anywhere that this happens, it's the plates can lock up and start to build up pressure over time. Eventually, that pressure is released, usually in these large, very rapid events like an earthquake. Some of them can be small, but every once in a while they get as big as what we saw there, that magnitude 8.8. And because that earthquake occurred along one of these really large faults, something that we actually call a megathrust, and it occurred underwater, it was able to move a lot of water with it. So it lifted up the ocean and then it dropped it back down. And then as it lifted up and dropped down that ocean, it started to send those waves out across the entirety of the Pacific. So it's kind of like stomping in a puddle of water.
Rare occurrence for this region, or is that something that we typically see often?
It's not a rare occurrence along the Pacific Ring of Fire, but any individual fault like that will only have, that segment of Kamchatka will only have an event like that probably once every few hundred years. But as you can see, we had not too long ago in Japan a magnitude 9 earthquake that is very similar to this. We've also had very similarly sized events, even larger events than this as well in Alaska, several of these over the last century, as well as in Chile and in Mexico. So we do have these really large earthquakes from time to time.
Yeah, thousands of miles away from us, right? But should we still be paying attention to stuff like this?
Yeah, it's a globally impactful event, so even though the tsunami waves aren't going to reach us here in Atlanta, thankfully, we do scientifically, we still feel the tremors. We have seismometers across Georgia. As a matter of fact, I'm part of the Seismometers in Schools program, and so we have quite a few around the Atlanta area. So we're recording those and are able to capture that for sort of a teachable moment. But as I said, it's a global event. And so these global, these really large earthquakes, they have the potential for really having major geopolitical effects in an environment. So you can imagine if you were to take out a really large city, no matter where it is, it's going to change policies and trade behaviors and things like that.
Yeah, must imagine that technology has changed a lot over time. Huge earthquake here, no loss of life. What went well with this?
So part of what went well is somewhat the location. So it is near a relatively large city, Petropavlovsk-Kamchatsky, but it is, the earthquake mostly occurred offshore. There was some strong shaking, and there was some damage to structures, some collapsed structures. The tsunami itself was big, but not as big as what it potentially could have been. We had really good warning. The global tsunami warning systems worked quite well for this event, giving pretty advanced warning all across the Pacific, so people knew what to expect, even sort of a worst case scenario and the timing of what to expect. So I think that worked well. Because places like Hawaii, and particularly Hilo, Hawaii, have been inundated time and time again by these really large tsunamis. In this case, it was about 6 feet high, which doesn't seem that high, but it's a 6-foot high additional wall of water, which is taller than most individual. It can very easily wash them out to sea. But the warnings came in, people evacuated the coastlines, and no lives were lost there.
Yeah, I'm sure you guys are going to take the data, apply it to the research that you're doing. So we'd like to invite you back to talk more about that on a later date. Thank you so much, Dr. Newman, for joining us.
Sure
Appreciate your insight.
All right, thank you. Take care.
All right. All right, folks, looking at this DeKalb County camera here, you can see we have a few clouds overhead, but all in all, we got the sunshine out there. It looks pretty good, as a matter of fact. We'll have a sunny day, at least for the start of the day. We'll get some clouds moving back in and a little bit of rain coming our way as well. Recess today for those going out to school. Temperatures will be in the 80s by then, but going into the 90s for highs this afternoon. Back when the kids get out of school, there could be a couple scattered thunderstorms around the forecast area. And so we'll continue to monitor it for you and keep you updated. But hopefully they got the umbrella, right? Let's continue to whip around the metro area ahead of the start of another great school year. Let's go up to Cherokee County now, where the district superintendent, Mary Elizabeth Davis, joins us now. Superintendent Davis, you are just in, you've been in over a year now, right? Just over a year.
That's right.
What's the one area of your district you're most proud of so far?
Well, thanks for having me today, Chesley, and I'm honored to serve in the Cherokee County community. And what I'm most proud of is this is a community where kids care deeply about a quality education. We have the best professional talent in the classroom and in our support roles. And we have a community who's incredibly committed to their schools. It's just really a recipe for excellence across the board.
Yeah. As your students return this week, what's the one thing you want the families to know about your district's readiness?
Yeah, I mean, we are ready. They should expect and be excited to see incredibly clean, safe, and highly prepared schools where there's a dedicated level of professional commitment, both in the classroom, around the classroom, and we're just ready to welcome joyfully kids into the learning environment.
You know, one of the things we hear about at the start of the school year is that districts aren't quite full of staff. You guys are nearly full when it comes to teachers and bus drivers. How did you pull that off?
Yeah, no, first of all, our school board here in Cherokee County has been laser focused on our employees knowing that they are valued and being effectively resourced so that they can be successful in the job that they perform. It starts with that clarity at the top in our governance team, and then it's really coupled with the role that our current employees play in making this a spectacular place to work. You know, we are hiring 250 new teachers to join our teacher ranks, and more than half of those new teachers are actually graduates of a Cherokee County high school. It's just a reflection of this culture of commitment to schools and a place that people really feel connected. Yeah. So I give a lot of credit to our current employees for making this the place that people want to be.
Yeah, you spoke about your board. They approved a cohesive teaching and learning policy. What does that look or mean for the classroom experience on a day-to-day basis?
That's right. Our school board is doing the heavy lifting work of ensuring that the conditions that are created for academics here in Cherokee County are crystal clear. And what that really means is that they're getting crystal clear about what teachers teach and kids learn in every classroom, in every corner of our community. And they're coupling that with tightly aligned, effective instructional resources that make certain that our teachers have at their fingertips the resources they need to bring learning to life. And that we do a better job connecting the classroom to the kitchen table when it comes to the work that our students are doing. It actually really clarifies the role of decreasing screen time and increasing the utilization of print materials, textbooks, workbooks, consumables, supplies, writing utensils. And then really it just provides this public guarantee that we are going to monitor that kids are learning. We're going to know when they don't and have a prescriptive plan and what we do about it.
Right.
It's really our board's way of ensuring that in Cherokee County schools, we keep the main thing, and that is a laser focus on kids learning more than they could anywhere else.
Absolutely. We've been talking to all the superintendents about safety because that's top of mind for all parents. How are you ensuring your families in your district that your children are going to be safe?
Yeah, I mean, this is a long-standing commitment and investment of the Cherokee County School Board. It actually started with establishing our own school police department. That's now been more than 20 years established. But we've continued to invest in growing that school police department, now ensuring that we have an officer at every one of our high schools and middle schools, and we have one officer per every 2 elementary schools. That is so instrumental into the approach we take to building relationships and ensuring that there's a positive environment. But we have coupled that this coming year by strengthening our consequences associated with the school threat, strengthening consequences with having possession of a vape on campus, and also really honing in on how do we monitor the effective application of our proactive protocols, including things like interior doors locked during instruction, exterior doors remaining locked, visitor check-in system adequately funneling all guests to the building and keeping name badges on, and really monitoring that is not left to chance at every one of our 40 schools and campuses across the district.
All right. Superintendent Davis, wishing you the best this school year, and thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Happy back to school season.
Same to you. All right, take care. All right, there appears to be a new king when it comes to tech. We're going to join in with CNN's Maribel Aber. She's going to talk to us about it coming up next. Stay there. Welcome back. The markets are holding their breath as the tariff deadline fastly approaches. CNN's Maribel Aber joins us now from the NASDAQ market site in New York. Good morning to you, Maribel. It sounds like traders are bracing for impacts as the tariff clock tick-tock, tick-tock.
Good morning, Chesley. They are, because it could mean more uncertainty for global trade depending on what happens. So far, 7 countries have reached deals with the U.S. The latest, South Korea this morning. Talks are still ongoing with China. Now, earlier this year, Wall Street was caught off guard by Trump's global tariff demands and plunging stocks. Investors are optimistic that tomorrow's deadline may bring more clarity and less concern. Key holdouts want to mention Canada, Mexico, India, and Australia. If the deal doesn't happen, those countries could face tariffs of 15% and 20%, higher than the 10% Trump announced on his Tariff Liberation Day. Chesley.
All right, so Wall Street seems to have a new king of tech. Tell us about it.
Okay, a crown worn by only one other company, NVIDIA. In after-hours trading Wednesday, Microsoft topped $4 trillion in market cap. If the rally holds today, Microsoft will officially join NVIDIA as the only 2 companies to reach that milestone. Microsoft also posted better than expected second quarter earnings and boosting its share price 8%. You know, Chesley, Microsoft started with Windows. It's still everywhere. It's the default for a lot of government, education, corporate earnings. We're talking about over 1 billion people. And now it's powering AI across industries from cloud to code. Azure is its cloud platform. It's second only to AWS. You know, that's Amazon's. And Microsoft has invested over $13 billion into OpenAI. I mean, hello, ChatGPT, Chesley.
That's absolutely right, yeah. Amir will understand that Music City will soon have a whole new underground vibe.
Let's talk about this one. But not without Elon Musk again sparking political debate, okay? His company, The Boring Company, not boring, just unveiled plans for a 10-mile underground tunnel in Nashville. Supporters, including Governor Bill Lee and other Republicans, call it a breakthrough in infrastructure. Democrats are demanding more answers, especially about the cost and long-term impact. An emergency session and public hearing are scheduled for later today. If approved, the tunnel would connect downtown Nashville to the airport with a projected travel time of under 10 minutes. Now, Chesley, I like to get to the airport early. Even if I could get there faster, I'd still be there early.
That's right. That's still right. Yeah. Finally, we're understanding that an energy drink may come with an extra surprise. What's that about?
That's right. Some canned vodka seltzers may have been mislabeled, and that's prompted a nationwide recall. The FDA says High Noon and Celsius, they share the same packaging supplier. And then in mid-July, some High Noon 12-packs may have included cans labeled incorrectly as Celsius Sparkling Blue Ras. Those cases were shipped to 8 states. Now, Georgia is not among them, but the error could cause people to unknowingly consume alcohol, posing a health and safety risk, especially for minors or those who abstain from medical or religious reasons. So if you have one of the affected packs, you're urged to check the label and stop drinking immediately. For full recall details, they're on the website, the FDA's website. Chesley, we need to give a good heads up to parents whose kids love those energy drinks because it's not the kind of kick that they need right now.
Right. In this case, a boost is not the same as a high, okay?
No.
Exactly. All right, Maribel, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate you. All right, coming up on the show, Superintendent of DeKalb County Schools is going to join us. We'll get the latest from the Superintendent Horton about what they can expect this upcoming school year. Stay right there. Well, our tour today of school districts ahead of the school year ends with a stop in DeKalb County. Yeah, let's bring into the take DeKalb Superintendent Dr. Devon Horton. Devon Horton, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, let's start off with this. You got a lot of changes coming to your district. You got 25 new principals for the school year. How are you trying to make each of them feel at home and ensure that they are set up for success?
Yes, 25 new leaders. We're excited about them. What's great, I'll say, 20 of them were internal candidates that were already in our district, working in some capacity, either in AP or principal at other schools. And so they matriculated into a different school environment to fit our needs. And then there were 5 roughly that came from outside of our district that we were excited to. We interviewed them all, of course, and they have been supported greatly by our structures. We have every single department currently has what you call an area superintendent and 2 executive administrators. So no more than 10 schools are supported by 1 executive administrator. So they're able to get that direct support. And then we do our new leader orientation and training for really not just orientation, but training for the full school year. Yeah. And so they come together. Our principals is in their years 1, 2, and 3. They come together once a month and actually go through some training and support. And we build access to myself as well as our chief of schools for barriers that may be in the way. And 8 of them were in their schools since February, which is another great deal. We were looking at principals that we transitioned out during that time. So they had about 4 months to learn the culture of their schools. And then it allowed them to really make some dynamic planning in the summer.
Gotcha. Talk to us about how the district has been working to maintain high quality teachers and avoid mid-year turnover.
Yes. So the first order of business, I would say, kudos to our human resource team. We have what I'm gonna call Agent Zero, who's leading. That's our chief, Davis Mills. There's an initiative that we have, and they put a lot of resources and time behind it. A couple of things that's happening. Number one, I would just say we have only 24 teacher vacancies going into this school year. That is remarkable. I came here 2 years ago. There were 650 teacher vacancies. Like, I can't even begin to express how critical that is. Mm-hmm. So we're doing something to be able to track the talent that we're bringing in. Secondly, for our new teachers into our district, we have a mentor program for teachers who are new into the district, and we coach and support them, and they get relationships with others who've been in the district for quite some time. We also have about 87 of our teachers newer teachers are from what we call our Ignite Teacher Residency Program. These are individuals that we trained in a year-long cohort program for us, where they got their master's in a year. They trained in our schools by some of our most dynamic teachers. And now they're fully certified working in the schools as well. And so retention is critical, but also our recruitment is just as important. And our research around the flow of teachers, we typically don't lose teachers during the mid-year. It's typically at the end. So we're feeling really excited. And I believe that we'll get down to single-digit vacancies before soon, before probably possibly as early as Monday. That's how intense and intentional our leaders at our schools are and our HR team.
Yeah, we understand one of the biggest concerns for your district is downsizing, district considering closing or consolidating up to 30 schools. How do you balance the efficiency of keeping schools accessible for families in your area?
Yes, the most important thing is that whatever we do, we have to think about providing the best learning opportunities for our schools. So if currently how we have 93,000 students and 110,000 students, if we knew that was yielding the best results for the current efficiencies of our schools, we will maintain it and do what we have to do to keep it. But we know that there are other resources that we can compensate our educators better. We can make sure that our students have, all of them have in-class or after-school tutoring for free. Right, things that many of our families have access to, but we have families who don't. And then we also know the mental health piece. Being able to put the resources together in one place gives a much greater reach to all the students that we serve. And we're not just consolidating schools or potentially closing schools just for the sake of it and saving money. We're consolidating closing because we can provide better resources for our children. So one thing that we know we offer right now is elementary athletics for all students across the entire district for free. And it was a huge success. We had almost 5,000 students, 4th and 5th graders that is, participate in our elementary sports program, free of charge. So those kind of initiatives cost dollars. And we know that running an efficiency and not having 110,000 seats and we only serve 93,000 students is not the best way. And it would also allow us to give buildings that are really dynamic. And we're leveraging something that we call our student assignment planning process. This is not the superintendent or the board just going around, picking out schools to close based off low enrollment or student achievement. We have a team of 150 individuals across the county. They're parents, business partners, homeowners, staff that meet once each. They're in 4 different cohorts: North, Central, Southwest, Southeast. That each cohort meets once a month to be able to talk about what are our priorities around boundaries, educational programs, and facilities. And so we're excited about what's coming. We know it's going to be a heavy lift, but the outcome and the resources that we can bring to our students when we make this adjustment are unbelievable. And we are really we're anticipating a great change with the shifts in our schools.
Yeah. Dr. Horton, I want to thank you for joining us and wishing the best for the upcoming school year, my friend.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, take care. All right, folks, when we come back, I got a final check on your forecast, plus my final take. Don't go anywhere. Hot, hot, hot and humid. Not as hot as we started out this week, but temperatures getting up to like 99 and 100 by Tuesday. Remember that? 92 degrees for the high temperature today. We'll have some scattered thunderstorms around by the afternoon. 93 for the high on Friday. We got a front that's going to be pushing through on Friday, though, and that's going to bring those temperatures down as we head into the weekend. You're looking at Saturday, 83 degrees, near 80 for a high temperature on Sunday. We'll have extended cloud cover, of course, and a few scattered showers, mainly during the afternoon. We'll continue that trend as we go into the back-to-school week. Next week, nice to have some below average temperatures for a change after a July that was hot and heavy with a lot of 90s around. All right, are you ready for some football? NFL is back with a Hall of Fame game tonight right here on NBC. Yeah, it's going to be the Detroit Lions taking on the Los Angeles Chargers. And if we're going to keep it real, nobody cares about that game. Even if one of those is your favorite teams, who cares about that game? We care about what it represents, baby. That's right. The start of America's favorite game, fantasy football, draft plans, fall right around the corner, and a reason to lose our minds on Sundays. Yeah, maybe more exciting than the game itself will be those inducted into the Hall of Fame, like this year, Jared Allen, Antonio Gates, Sterling Sharp, and Philadelphia Eagle great Eric Allen. Yep, it all goes down tonight right here on 11Alive at 7 o'clock with Football Night in America. Kickoff is at 8 o'clock, followed by 11Alive News at 11. You know, we also start making predictions this time of year. So for all you Atlanta Falcon fans out there, I'm going to say a winning season, 8-8, maybe even a playoff berth. You got some pretty good young talent there. You know, I'm a prognosticator. It's what I do for a living, you know. But watch out for those Philadelphia football Eagles, baby. They're back. They're back. I'm excited. You're excited? I'm excited. Football tonight. Yeah, we are ready. That's all we got for you today, folks. Make sure you try to encourage someone today, especially for their football team, because they're going to lose to us. Have a great day.